I will be playing through the second chapter of the game. Last time I played through the first chapter, which was very fun. I am very fond of this game. I found it it kind of came out around the time when I started playing indie games, and it kind of is like perfect fit for that. So yeah, so we'll be playing through all of chapter 2 this session, and we'll continue to play through the game that's been released as of so far up to chapter 6. And yeah, we were also doing the non-romance route of the game, and if you want to check it out for yourself, I highly recommend you do. It is being published on itch.io, and it will eventually be published on Steam once the full game is released. But yeah, as for now, just gotta set up a couple things, and we will dive right back in to the game. Here we go. Alright, set up my tablet. Oh, alright, cool. But yeah, last we left off, our poor little traveler has no memory of their past or anything, and they're stuck on a spaceship. Yeah, we will be heading to the sort of very hot, kind of desert-like planet of Terranium. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. The problem with all these like fantasy and sci-fi things is that I'm just guessing with the pronunciations. I think there is a guide out there, but God, if I can't find it again. But yeah, we will be heading right back in. At the end of episode 1. Episode 2, Tranium.exe. The buzzing of the ship wakes me, giving way seconds later to the crackle of the intercom booming through my room. Rise and shine, people! Terranium is in our sights, and we're set to land in approximately 1 hour. Time to get your asses to the stations. Stretching my arms above my head, I let out a loud yawn, lazily blinking the sleep from my eyes. It had taken some getting used to, sleeping in a moving craft. That would suck. Saying, also, do we have a curtain for our window, or are we just looking out into the void of space? Because that would freak me out. And I could do with another hour or 2 of rest. Though rather than risk the captain's wrath, and probably Aya's too, I pushed myself out of bed, shivering as the cold metal floor touched my bare feet. Ugh. And I head to the adjoining bathroom to wash up. Also, thank God our cabin has an adjoining bathroom. I don't think all of the cabins do on the ship, and that would suck. That would really suck. After my initial run-in with the crew and the rather unfriendly welcome from the captain, I had avoided leaving my room as much as possible the past few days, content to let Riona bring me my meals and just generally fuss over my well-being. We're hiding. I mean, yeah, we've been through a lot. I guess we're allowed to hide away. The headaches I have been having since my accident haven't quite eased off, and the potion and balms that the medic have brought me are the only thing helping me to get any sleep. After receiving my music box that first night, I had the strangest dream. A faceless entity I had no memory of had visited me in my sleep, and her voice, soft but strong, gave me a new kind of hope. Since then, nothing else has surfaced. No memories, no voices, and I had kept the contents of that dream to myself. I have no idea who the woman is, lingering on the edge of my memories. Family, friends, or something else altogether. All I know is that the sound of her voice made me feel something familiar, something safe and hopeful. I'd like to keep that feeling to myself for a little while longer. I guess I don't know these people that well. Like, we don't. At this point, like, some of them are friendly. Some of them are less friendly. But, yeah. The crew has been welcoming for the most part, but I'm still not sure exactly who I should trust, or if I trust any of them at all. I finished washing up in the bathroom, and after deciding I can't put it off any longer, I head to the bridge. The captain had told me to stay out of his way, and I had tried my best to, but I didn't exactly love the idea of being stuck in my room while we landed the ship. After having hit my head once already this week, I really don't need a repeat. That would be bad. Turning one of the many corridors, silently praying I haven't lost my way again, I almost bump into a figure coming out of one of the adjacent rooms while lost in thoughts. A surprised sound escapes me, and a moment later I realize my hands are pressed against a solid wall of muscle, preventing myself from colliding with the figure entirely. June. Hi, baby. June chuckles and takes a step back, and I drop my hands awkwardly. You know, if you had to run into anyone on the ship, he's friendly. He's friendly for now. Good morning, Solaris. That's the name of my traveler. Sleep well. He waits for me to regain my composure before he continues heading towards the bridge, matching his steps with mine. No, I don't think we did. I barely got a few decent hours. I barely got a decent few hours. I think someone must have slipped something under my mattress. It was all lumpy and uncomfortable. Very Princess and the Pea of us. I press my fingers into my sides, prodding over the muscles that tightened uncomfortably during my restless sleep. June gives me a sympathetic smile. Mine's not any better, I'm afraid. I'll sign off for the trade rooms. You don't need to do that. It's very sweet. I couldn't have taken a room, June. I'm sure you have things in there that are private. Honestly, apart from a few extra weapons, my room is just as bare as yours. That's sad. You realize that's sad, right? What about Lizzie? Oh. But don't look at me like that. I'm not a fan of clutter, that's all. It's so sad. I should get some more items. We need to buy June things. We walk in silence for a while, and although it's comfortable enough, I still find myself searching for something to say. So, are you used to being woken up by Ayame shouting through a speaker every morning? It certainly happens more often than it probably should, but I was already up. I don't sleep much. Insomnia? Yeah. Me too. Me too. He's just like me, for real. He slows, almost stopping completely as he gives me a thoughtful look. Something like that. His eyebrows dip, and I want to ask more, but something about his tone makes it clear that I shouldn't pry any further. So, how much do you know about Terranium? Not much, though I get the feeling it's not the most welcoming of planets. Listen, Cal just wanted to drop me off there and leave me to die in the dust. It has its ups and downs. I'll tell you a little about it if you'd like. Yes, please. I nod. The prospect of learning more about this place will be busy soon. Too good to give up. Terranium is a desert planet. Water there largely comes from various oases scattered across the surface, and the oases are largely controlled by the gangs and clans there. The planet's government, the Council of Embers, is negligent, corrupt. I feel that will only become worse now that Zovac sits on the throne of Goldus. There's something dark in June's voice when he says this, some deep-seated resentment poking its head through that calm composure. I notice the rifle that's strapped to his back, and I wonder, with a twinge of panic, how bad this place really is. Terranium has long been known for drugs, robotics, and arenas. That's how they make their money. We're headed to Las Vegas, the capital. It's not as savage as some of the smaller cities, but still, things can get wild, so be on your guard. It's Las Vegas. We have a friend who owns a property in the busier sector of the city. It's a great place for gathering intel and laying low. So that's what we're doing there? Gathering intel and laying low. Among other things. I'm sure you're aware of the damage to the cargo hold. We'll find the parts we need to patch it up and then scope the area for a general overview of the situation in Selaoda after the coup. I believe that's the galaxy that they're in. Then we'll make a decision on what to do next. Aya mentioned the crew was in some kind of mess. What does she mean by that? June makes a strange face, as if considering exactly how much she wants me to know. It wouldn't be fair to drag you into that. The less you know, the better. That's not ominous at all. Who exactly am I getting involved with? Also, wow. It's gorgeous. I love the space backgrounds. I love space. Oh, funky little planet. And it's really cool because in a lot of times, if you're on the bridge or in any other area with a window, it'll also change if you've landed on a planet or something, and then it's just really cute little details. Also, you can notice there's a Bash leaves little notes everywhere in drawings and stuff, sort of scattered around in the backgrounds of a lot of the locations on the ship, which is very cute. He's an artist. We enter the bridge to a buzz of activity. It's clearly all hands on deck up here. Calderon and Aya are sitting in the cockpit, the pilot flicking switches and pulling levers while the captain barks at someone through the comm as he holds in his hand. An awkward laugh crackles through the receiver from the other side, and I recognize the voice instantly. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of noise down here, Cap. We'll make it through the atmosphere in one piece, but I don't expect the outer cargo walls to hold up during landing. Just make sure the airlocks 3 and 4 are sealed. The hold is already shredded, nothing we can do about it now. Aye, aye, Captain. Are you ready, kids? Riona greets us with a smile from where she's buckling herself into one of the extra chairs, and when I feel a hand on my arm, I turn back to June. One more thing before we land. Just make sure you stay with one of us at all times, okay? Wouldn't want to lose you so soon after bringing you on board. Filling in the newbie and all the lewd and lawless activities that go down in Las Vegas, are you, June? Damon's voice floats over to us from where he stands nearby, sheathing a pair of daggers into place on his thighs. June folds his arms over his chest, giving Damon a hard look. I'd rather not worry Solaris with the details so soon before landing. There's nothing to worry about so long as we keep our heads down. Damon grins, his eyes trailing over June lazily, and a blade balanced between his fingers. Where's the fun in that? June rolls his eyes, unstrapping the rifle from his back and fixing it to the back of one of the chairs before he sits to strap himself in. I watch a thick green substance sloshing around the chamber just beneath the barrel of his rifle, wondering what it is. Now listen to Damon, Solaris. Last time we were here, all he did was skulk around the shadows and drink that disgusting shrimp juice they sell at the Ark. Horrifying. Horrifying taste, Damon. You should be ashamed of yourself. It's not shrimp, it's krill. That's not any better. It's with a little blueberry and lemon juice. Don't knock it till you try it, cowboy. It's horrifying. Joe makes a disgusted face, and I have to agree that combination doesn't sound all that appealing. I'll pass. As Damon turns to roll his eyes, and as June settles into his seat, ending that conversation, he turns to me. He looks even more menacing than when we first met, though that may be because he's smiling at me in a way that leaves me unsure if he wants to stab me or seduce me. Probably stab me. My eyes flicker over the bandolier across his chest, the knives partly concealed by his coat, the twin daggers he keeps strapped to his thighs. I wonder idly how he manages not to cut himself on all that steel, as I'm sure there are plenty more hidden where I can't see. Want to do a strip search? No. What? Stop torturing Solaris, Damon. I don't know how it's possible, but Damon grins even wider, his head cocking to the side. In a moment, trigger happy, Solaris and I have some business to conduct. I panic, my chest seizing while my mind ticks over exactly what he means by business. Well, I'm sure you had a conversation worthy of a perfectly pleasant brunch with June. I highlight out the cowboy, told you the half of what goes on in Geranium, so walk with me. I quickly realize he's not giving me a choice, and when he saunters over to a large control screen near the cockpit, I follow suit. Damon barely spares me a glance as his fingers fly over the screen, typing and scrolling through information I couldn't begin to piece together even if I wanted to. Think of Las Vegas like a giant sandbox, filled with loads of corrupt grains of sand. The kind of fun you'll find there isn't exactly legal, which means it's the best kind. He throws me a knowing grin before his eyes snap back to the screens in front of him. Casinos, bars, arenas, strip clubs, brothels, mods, weapons, dealers. You name it, they've got it. I must choke on air at the description of the planet, and when I part my lips to speak, no words come out. Calderon wanted to leave me in a place like that? I know what you're thinking. What kind of man is the captain to ditch a lost, lonely traveler in a place like that? Am I right? How does he keep doing that? Because it's the obvious thing to think. But he's very good at reading people. I don't reply, but I'm sure my slack job and disbelieving stare tell Damon everything he wants to know. He chuckles a little, and I'm glad at least one of us is amused by the situation. That sounds dangerous. Wouldn't be fun if it wasn't. I bite down on my tongue to keep from answering. His definition of fun is certainly an interesting one. Still, trigger happy over there is right. You shouldn't wander around on your own, especially if you don't know the place. He glanced at me, giving me a once-over from head to toe and pulling his lips into a tight, unimpressed line. Or if you don't know how to take care of yourself. I can take care of myself? No, you can't. Damon has to laugh, and I swear I hear him mumble cute under his breath. I'd like to see that, newbie. In fact, I may even pay to see that, although I'm sure the cowboy would have a thing or two to say about it. I do nothing but narrow my eyes at him, to which he replies with a dark grin as if that was the exact reaction he was hoping for. Anyway, I'm not your babysitter. I don't particularly care what you do or don't do while we're there, so take this just in case. He pulls a black leather sheath from the pocket of his coat and holds it towards me. On closer inspection, I notice a glint of metal and a sturdy handle. He's giving me a dagger. Apparently not one to wait around for a decision to be made, Damon clicks his tongue at me impatiently. Take it. You'll need it. Now, the smart thing to do would be to take the dagger. However, I'm committed to the role-playing bit, and Solaris is a pacifist. I mean, as close to a pacifist as you can kind of get. I don't think they ever want to hurt anyone. And they will do their every attempt not to, unless I'm given an option later on. I don't know. I just kind of imagine they start off as this very, like, I don't know if sweet's the right word, but just someone who has very little interest in hurting people. But that might change sort of as they grow, or not. And maybe it's something to explore in later chapters. I think with some of the choices they make. But for now, we will be making bad decisions. Actively bad decisions, and we will not be taking the thing that might protect us. But also, I feel like we're just going to get hurt on it. So we will not be accepting your dagger, Damon. Thanks, but I'm not comfortable carrying a weapon. Yeah, I know. Damon looks at me as though I've sprouted a second head, the dagger still loosely held in front of him. Come again? It's better if I don't. Why, afraid you'll cut off a finger? Yeah, probably. I'm not sure I know how to use it. It's probably best if I just stay out of trouble. In Las Vegas, you can certainly try. Listen, it's perfectly reasonable. Damon, how are things looking on your end? Calderon's deep voice cuts our conversation short, and when I turn towards the cockpit, his attention is still firmly fixed on the controls in front of him. I would question if he's noticed my presence at all, having not received so much as a glance from him, but I don't think anything escapes that man. The radar's coming up clean. No active patrols in the quadrant for the time being. Opa has the yard clear for landing. We're good to go. IMA? We're coming into orbit. Switching autopilot off to prepare for landing. All stats are looking good despite the, well, Sebastian? Would it kill you to call me Bash like everyone else? Sebastian? A sigh crackles to the receiver, followed by Bash's voice over again, bright and bold. Engines are A-okay. Let's get busy. Damon snickers beside me, shaking his head before he pushes me toward an empty chair and sits me down. Does he even hear himself? I raise my eyebrow as he straps me in, securing the belts around me in place and pulling twice to ensure they're firm. I mean, this does kind of feel like babysitting Damon. Thank you. Damon winks at me in answer, stepping away once he's happy I'm secured fixedly in place. Everyone take your seats. We're about to enter Terranium's atmosphere. The sound of mental groaning catches my attention when Damon takes a seat next to me, strapping himself just as the ship lurches and rumbles. Leaning forward as far as my restraints will allow, the beige-orange mass of Terranium surrounds us, the vivid neon lights and usual buildings of Las Vegas glowing closer and closer as we approach our destination. I mean, tell me a better pair than a sci-fi story and a desert planet. Like, it's just perfect. It's a fun little... I love it. When we descend the loading ramp, the first thing that hits me is the heat. Not the balmy kind of warmth you find on a summer day, but the scorch of fiery engines and hot metal. The late afternoon sun hangs low in the sky, and a metallic, oily scent lingers in the air. I wrinkle my nose at it, surveying my surroundings. We're on a landing strip in what looks like some kind of junkyard. Scrap metal piles up on either side of us. Broken down robots, rusted old hovercrafts, outdated droids. A graveyard of poor, unwanted things. Damn, that's why we're here. It's a relief to step on the solid ground after the past few days in space, and I toe the dirt beneath my shoe, kicking up a small cloud of dust as I do so. Following behind the group, my eyes drift idly over to the pieces of junk surrounding us, until my gaze falls upon a serving bot, an older model by the looks of what I can see it, lying half buried within a pile of rusted limbs, metal arms, legs, and torsos thrown haphazardly into a pyramid. I step towards it. Its black eyes, one cracked right down the middle, staring into mine, and its mouth opening and closing like a dying goldfish. Oh, that's how goldfish. A shiver runs through me, and I find myself feeling oddly sorry for the machine, left lost and alone among the skeletons of its own kind. So that's been updated. Interesting. Someone grabs my arm and yanks me aside roughly, and I see immediately what they've saved me from impaling my foot on. A piece of metal scrap lies half buried in the sand, its jagged edge poking up ominously through the dust. Be careful. Calderon gives me a hard look, his face schooled into expression of pure annoyance. Thank you. We'll just be polite. I mutter thanks to Captain, though I wonder why I bother when he merely turns and keeps walking. I don't know why exactly, but he seems to be even more on edge on the ground than he did on the ship. I mean, there's a lot more dangers. Like, when you're on a ship, all you have to worry about is, your cargo holds having a hole in it, which is bad, but, there's not, like, a bunch of terrible thieves and stuff coming to steal your things and hurt your crewmates, as there is on a planet. I get the impression he's not too fond of the planet. It's the heat. He just hates the heat. And you know what? He's just like me. I would go crazy too. I can't stop myself from scowling at his back when we walk. I mean, yeah, that's fair. As we walk along, the clouds of dust growing thicker around us the further we get. June told me I should stay close to someone while we're here, and after hearing about the planet, I agree with him. I'd feel more comfortable if that someone was... Okay, so again, we aren't doing a romance route. So I should be choosing nobody here. But I don't know if I want to. I think Solaris would stay close to someone just for general protection, even if it's sort of like a precursor to the romance, but no, I think we're gonna stick close to IMA just because I love her, and also she was my first romance route. But we will not be romancing. I fall in step beside the pilot, who gives me a broad smile. Oh yeah, stay close to me while we're here, Solaris. I promise we'll have a great time. I laugh at her enthusiasm, returning it with a grin of my own. I can't wait. We don't have to walk much further until we're greeted by a scaled lizard-like being who smiles and spread their arms wide to welcome us. Hi, Oppo. I break away from the group a little to get a better look at our host. Welcome, my friends. Oppo is so very, very happy to see you again. And here's Oppo. They also have their own DLC, along with, there's sort of a couple that surround theirs. There's I believe the Star-Crossed Lovers DLC, which was released for Valentine's Day, which takes place on sort of Terranium's equivalent of Valentine's Day. And yeah, you get just like a cute little precursor to romance with all the different love interests. And then you also have Tea Time with Oppo, who is very funny and sweet and charming, and it's all the memories of like the crew and stuff. And yeah, it's cute. There's also a third DLC, which I think is the last DLC being released, at least while the game is in development, called After Dark. I'll just let you interpret that as you will. Calderon steps forward first, a rumble of impatience hanging thick in his words. Skip the pleasantries, Oppo. We're here on business. Be nice to them. Oppo drops her arm, surveying Calderon with an almost fearful look. I don't blame them, really. The captain is an intimidating man. Yes, of course. Do you have the parts? Right over here, Captain. Calderon strolls over to the pile of metal Oppo indicated toward with Damon in tow, while Aya steps forward to give Oppo a much friendlier greeting. How have things been around here, Ope? She smiles up at the lizard who towers over her and makes a non-committal kind of sound. Bad, very bad since the Chimeri took over power. Oppo barely gets enough water to keep the club running now that they have control of the council. Every oasis on the planet is under their order. Aya's eyebrows dip, her expression shifting to one of pure horror. Zovak gave his clan control of the Council of Embers? Yes, the old councilors executed. Many of the arena fighters have been taken from the planet, made to serve in the king's army. Oppo fears bad things are coming to all planets. June frowns, and I can't help but notice Oppo shy away just a little, having only just noticed he was there. I fear you might be right, Oppo. The Council of Embers? Come on, Solaris, June told you about this. I asked Bash, who was standing beside me, and he whispers back his answer. The Council of Embers are Terranium's government. Every planet has one. The Council of Eons on Tilaran, the Council of Iron on Cursa, and the Council of Essence on Orion. There is also the Council of Pearl before Catalfa was destroyed. All of them answer to the Crown Council on Goldus, who in turn answers to and advises the monarch. Zovak? Bash makes a face, and I wonder if it was the wrong thing for me to say. Most would argue against this claim. The monarchy has always been passed down through the royal Pegasi family ever since its creation. Zobak fought his way to the throne and took it by force. He's a ruthless man, and his clan, the Chimeri, are just as bad. While June and Aya carry their conversation in hushed tones, I feel a hand on my back as Bash steers me towards Oppo, hailing them with a wave of his bionic hand. Oppo, I want you to meet Solaris. The Archnos looks me over, their beady eyes blinking rapidly and their forked tongue darting out from beneath pointed teeth. They're cute. I know they're a little shady, but they're very cute. As I say that as they say something horrifying. Mr. Bash has brought Oppo new slave, yes? Oppo, no, this is our new friend. No. And they're not slaves, they're employees. Yes, employees. That's what Oppo said. Bad. I hope you're paying them. And they're allowed to leave. Bash shakes his head at the lizard and leans in a little closer to whisper to me. I do not give Oppo slaves, just so we're clear. That's good. An graceful snort escapes me. Crystal. I feel a nudge on my arm, and when I turn, Oppo is beside me, teeth bared in a pointed smile. You will come and work for Oppo, yes? Better than slumming it with the Andromeda crew. It's Andromeda, Oppo. How many times have we been over this? Oppo blinks at Bash once, then twice, ignoring him completely as they turn back to me. A spot just opened up in Oppo's club. Very popular tourist destination. Oppo will give you a good price, no need to worry. Back off, Oppo, this one's with us. Calderon shoulders his way past the Archnos, standing between us and blocking me from Oppo's beady eyes. I can't see Oppo's reaction, but I hear their reply come from Calderon's other side. Yes, Captain, at once. How much for the parts? 2,000 credits. 2,000. Calderon leans in and says, listen, inflation's getting everyone. Calderon leans in and says something to Oppo in a harsh whisper I don't understand. I realize after a moment that he's spoken another language entirely. For you, Oppo will take 400, and Oppo's junkers will install the parts for you, free of charge. Calderon leans back and crosses his arms over his chest, looking awfully pleased with himself. Get that barter. You go to the club while you wait. Show your new friends our hospitality here in Nostrovega. No chance, I'm staying with the ship. Come on, party pooper. The ship's in good hands, isn't it, Oppo? Aya links an arm through mine before she looks up at the captain pleadingly through vivid violet eyes. Yes, Opal will take good care of it. Calderon looks unconvinced, though he heaves a sigh despite his hesitation, and Aya gives him an excited clap on the back before she turns to me. We are going to have so much fun. The streets of Nosvega are a minefield of neon lights, tiny shop fronts and stalls, and all manner of creatures roaming the city. It doesn't take us long to reach our destination, stopping outside a large, odd-shaped building with a fluorescent sign on the front reading The Ark. The bar we enter is crowded, overflowing with humans, Catalfans, Archnos, and some species I've never seen before. The crowd here is so diverse, so colorful and unique, I can't help but let my eyes wander. A small group of Archnos hides away in the corner in the back, low hisses and chirps the only thing to be heard among their heated discussion. Waiters hurry through the crowds, dressed in tight, dark outfits, most look human, with varying degrees of bionic alterations. Synthetic limbs, cybernetic enhancements, some of them even look more animal than human. Almost unknowingly, I run a finger over the skin of my forearm, wondering if it's just as strange for them to see a human without any modifications. A couple of Catalfans stand out amongst the crowd, their gills shimmering brightly with some kind of pearlescent substance. It doesn't take me long to realize there are no Talari, and I wonder why that is. This feels like the kind of place some would come to escape, to disappear in a crowd, lose yourself for a night, or even forever. I wonder if the crew feels the same, if there are things, places, people that they too would wish to escape. The Ark is most definitely a world of its own, and I wonder how deeply it would drag me down the rabbit hole if I'd let it. I don't think Solaris likes it very much. It's too much. The colors, the crowd, the noise. I find myself thinking I'd rather be back on the ship, and even that in itself is a curious thing. I've barely been with the crew for a week, and while the A6 certainly isn't home, it's the only familiar thing I have. My eyes start to Aya, who adapts to the atmosphere like a fish to water, and I'm glad at least one of us is happy here. Seeing the way her smile curls her lips, how her violet eyes light up beneath the strobing lights around us sparks something in me. In the end, I have to tear my eyes away from her and heave a heavy sigh. Perhaps if I stick with her, I'll be able to have some fun. More than a few eyes watch as we enter, sizing up the newest patrons of the club. Most seem to know the crew, and while some are friendly, offering greetings or simply the nod of their head, others are not so much. The crew doesn't seem to mind. the odd, unfamiliar glare they receive, either ignoring it completely or in some cases giving it back just as rough. Don't wander too far. It's safe enough in the club, but don't leave this place on your own. Calderon gives me a hard look before he heads towards the bar, and I resist the urge to roll my eyes at him. Damon grins at me knowingly, nudging past me to join the captain. We'll be back here in a couple hours. I may flash a smile, skipping towards a curtain near the back of the room. When she pushes to the side, I get a glimpse of a stage so long it almost looks like a catwalk. A half a dozen pair of eyes follow her as she disappears behind the curtain, and a small spark of jealousy hits me unexpectedly. June lets out a weary sigh from beside me before striding off to catch up with the pilot. Don't get into too much trouble. Mash grins, and I watch as he heads to a separate room off to the side of the building, Riona hot in his heels. I peek through the door a little before the curtain floats back to its place after them, a catching glimpse of felt-lined tables and plastic chips of different colors. Deciding I'd like to learn more about the crew and my future with it, I push my way through the crowd and find myself at the bar. Here's our little stowaway. Damon grins at me, wide and wolfish, leaning sideways against the bar. What'll it be, newbie? You know what? we'll have some red wine. That sounds good. Damon raises an eyebrow at me before signaling the bartender ordering our drinks. A refined taste, I should have known. You won't find many ordering wine around here. Don't you two have anywhere else to go? Oh, I'm sorry, Commander. Are we disturbing you in your bar stool of solitude? Don't call me that. Damon grins, and immediately I know he's hit Calderon exactly where he wanted to. But it's such a good title. Calderon tenses his shoulders tight as Damon turns to me. You see, our dear captain here was a commander in Orsana's Guard. Orsana's Guard? To my surprise, Calderon is the one who answers. There's a law here in the system. Their base is on Goldus. Something about the way he says this intrigues me. There's a kind of loathing in his eyes, a bitter disdain. Why did you leave? I didn't have a choice. I will want to ask more, but he doesn't seem to want to talk about it. I tried a different question instead. Did you know the royal family? No, I was stationed in the city, the Bronze District mostly. That's where they hide the street rats of Sylvie. Stick them in the factories and work them till they bleed. Calderon gives Damon a look. The latter only shrugs and takes a long drink from his glass. What? I can't give the newbie here a little background on the planet we snatched him from? Sorry. Okay. Calderon makes an unimpressed sound, the kind of growl in the back of his throat, and Damon turns back to me, arms folded over his chest. Let's see if we can hotwire that brain of yours with a little bit of info, shall we? Silta V has 3 districts. Gold, home of the luxury items, jewels, high-end tech, and fashion couture. Think of all the pompous, hoity-toity assholes you've ever met, and chances are that's where they're from. It's not a dig at all. I resist the urge to glance at Calderon, and I think Damon notices by the knowing glint in his eyes. Listen, he phrased it like that for a reason. Silver, technology and trade. All transport to and from the capital goes through this district and is closely monitored by the guard. And bronze, factories, power plants, and steelworks, the dregs of Goldus, and where they assigned only the fiercest of the guard. Damon shoots a quick look at Calderon before whispering to me. In my opinion, I think that's where they station the soldiers they want to punish. His lips quirk, and my own follow suit. Calderon appears to be pretending not to have heard him. All citizens of the capital work and live in these districts, for the glory of Goldus, as they say. Bunch of bullshit, if you ask me. He raised an eyebrow, scanning my face for something only he knows. Does any of this strike a chord with you? I shake my head. None of it sounds familiar. Maybe I'm not from Goldus after all. God forbid you end up being from Cursa. My planet breeds warriors, I'll have you know. Oh yeah? What happened to you then? Damon grins wolfishly, his steady gaze sizing up the captain in a way that has him narrowing his eyes into thin slits of blue. Come closer and I'll tell you. Calderon rolls his eyes, clearing his throat for good measure. Last I heard, you detested your planet. Why defend it now? You want to talk about detesting planets? You look pretty content to sit on your ass instead of trying to find a way back to yours. Moms must be so worried about their precious golden boy, and let's not forget that. Watch your mouth. Or what, Cal? The mood around us grows thick, tension hanging heavy in the air. I almost decide to head off and find someone else, leaving the two of them to their argument until Calderon lets out a heavy sigh. I don't want to talk about that. Damon bangs a fist on the bar in front of him, and it's the first time I've seen him genuinely angry. Aren't you the one always telling me to talk about shit? We have more important things to worry about. The fact that Calderon hasn't fully snapped at Damon surprised me, and I wonder about the nature of their relationship. Fine, suit yourself. We turn away from each other, both of their shoulders tense. I want to say something, but before I can find the words, I notice Damon staring at me, freezing me in place with that cold, cold stare. Let's talk about something else, shall we? Or rather, someone else. A sense of foreboding sails in my stomach, and I'm not sure I like the way Damon grins when he says that. Looks like we have a dilemma on our hands. What exactly are we going to do with you, newbie? The captain rolls his eyes and clears his throat, cutting to the chase. What he means is we don't do charity. You can't stay on the Andromeda 6 if you're just going to be another mouth to feed. Which means you gotta work. Damon looks me up and down, I swallow thickly. What kind of work? That's irrelevant. You just need to choose who you'd rather answer to. I can choose anyone? I choose Aya. No, the crew already has enough on their hands. They don't need any added burdens. I narrow my eyes at him. His choice of words is poor, but in a way I understand what he means. I don't want to be a burden. Pulling my own weight in exchange for food and accommodation sounds fair enough to me. So it's either me or Damon, stowaway. I'm the captain and he's second in command. It's only fair that the responsibility falls on one of us. Go ahead and choose, newbie. Me or Cal. Calderon growls at a little at the nickname, but lets it slide for the time being. I'm choosing Damon. I am fond of him, even though he was very mean to me in chapter 1. But I do really enjoy a lot of his interactions, and I don't know, in my head, especially yes, obviously the romance route is excellent, but he is, once you crack through that icy exterior, he is funny and delightful to be around. I'm not entirely confident with my choice, especially when I notice the way Damon is all but devouring me with his steady gaze. I think it's kind of fun. Just sort of like the traveler I have in my head for Solaris is kind of desperately trying to stick to morality and not wanting to kill anyone and to be stubbornly being a pacifist in a group of mercenaries. I just hope he doesn't make a big deal of it. In that case, I choose Damon. Sorry, Cal. You're responsible to me now, Damon. Don't go palming it off to any of the crew. Yeah, I got it. Don't get your panties in a twist, Commander. Calderon glowers in response, looking like he'd done nothing more than to break his bottle over Damon's skull. Obviously thinking better of it, he takes one last swig of a drink, leaving the bottle in the bar before he turns and disappears into the crowd. Damon turns to me, looking nothing short of delighted that the two of us are now alone. So, you gonna drink that or what? I take a polite sip of my drink, my eyes holding his, and watching the smirk on his lips tilt higher as the seconds pass. Deciding that if I'm going to be working for the guy, I should probably know a little more about him. I settle for questions I believe is less likely to get me disemboweled. So, what was it like growing up in Cursa? Damon hesitates, swirling the contents of his glass as he weighs his words carefully. I wouldn't call it growing up. More like surviving. Cursa's a shithole, simple as that. Something in his tone gives me pause, and I think there's more to it than he's willing to let on. You were awfully defensive about it with Calderon earlier. Why would anyone want to defend a shithole unless... Damon gives me a hard look and I stop, wondering if I'd even see the knife before he sinks it into my gut. Lucky for me, it only takes a moment before he shrugs his shoulders, clearly deciding to play a different card. I didn't. I was trying to rattle him, that's all. Not sure if you noticed, but it's a rather easy feat. I raise an eyebrow at him, unconvinced. He's a good liar, I'll give him that, but I don't believe he's as reluctant to talk about it as he thinks he is. It didn't look that way. Damon moves away from me, resting his forearms against the bar and taking in a sharp inhale, probably an attempt to keep from murdering me where I stand. Maybe I crossed the line, though I can't say I'm sorry for it, but if he really doesn't want to talk about his home, then I'm not going to push him any further. A few moments pass and I finish my drink, preparing to walk away from the bar before a low voice stops me in my tracks. There's nothing about that godforsaken place of worth sharing, believe me. I study Damon closely, taking in the crease of his forehead, the tightness of his jaw. Or remembering, but unfortunately it's not something that you just forget. Believe me when I tell you you're not from Cursa. There's not a single thing about you that comes close to the place I left behind. That's almost a compliment, Damon. He keeps his eye on his glass, though as if he's staring straight through it, lost instead inside lost instead inside the remnants of its past. It's a slum through and through. There are no schools, no guard. The Crown Council doesn't give a shit about it being as small and distant as it is. Smack dab in the middle of Terranium and Botulan, so you can imagine the leadership. The Council of Iron is a joke, run by the most ruthless clan leaders, fashioning themselves into politicians and constantly fighting amongst themselves. The plan's a haven for crime. Clans and gangs run haywire while the rest of them sit around and cower. Is there any good plan on the system? Someone has been failing these people. The royal family has been failing this system. He uses the word them, almost as though he refused to consider himself one of the natives. It sounds rough. Damon chuckles, though there's no warmth to the sound. When he finally looks at me, his eyes are cold and as hard as flint and steel. Oh, you ain't heard the half of it. When I say it's a shithole, I mean it. It's almost impossible for those who are born there to make it out alive, free or on their own. It's either in a body bag, in handcuffs, or as a member of one of the gangs. It suddenly makes a lot more sense to me why Damon is the way he is. It can't have been easy growing up in a place like that. Was it always that bad? He stops to think, sliding his tongue over his teeth, fixing me with that hard stare. I don't think so. The land itself ain't bad, plenty of ground for farming if anyone has the tools or the freedom to do it, but I can't say I ever cared enough to look into it. Once you make it out, don't go back. Ever. And how did you make it out? None of your business, newbie. You've asked me more than enough questions already. His eyes are sharp, and a pang of hurt hits me. I only wanted to know more about him. Forget I asked, then. My bristle scrapes along the ground as I push it back, intending to ignore him and head off into the club. Oh, cut it out. I just don't get why you care so much. I care about my friends. You're unfortunately friends now, Damon. He tries to put up a tough front, but I've caught glimpses of what's behind that mask, and I know there's so much more to him. I care about the people I consider friends. Friends, huh? I know we're not as close as you in Calderon, but I know. Sorry I hurt your precious feelings. You fucking asshole. Thinking it's probably best to change the topic while Damon's in a better mood, I asked something else I've been thinking about. Earlier with Oppo, what language was Calderon speaking with them? That, Ark knows. Do you speak it? Roughly. Enough to get my work done, but nowhere near as much as our dear Cal does. He had a fancy education and all, I just picked it up as I went. The way he said that made it clear he wasn't going to elaborate. He was threatening the poor thing, using times we had to bail them out as leverage. Threatening? Have you really seen him do anything else? You're a curious thing, aren't you? His soft smile takes me by surprise. I had never expected to see anything so gentle from him. It's very cute. Perhaps it's the alcohol loosening him up. If that's the case, I might as well take advantage of it. Does that mean you'll let me ask another question? I'll give you one more. I have to bite down on my lip to keep from grinning triumphantly. I only have one question, so I better make it a good one. What happened to your family? Are they still in Cursa? His eyes go hard. That's obviously not expecting that topic of all things. That's 2 questions, newbie. His voice is rough, and for half a second, I think he's going to get up and leave until he rolls his neck and fixes me with a hard stare. No family, no one left behind, no one that cares back home. I mean, you have someone. His voice is neutral, almost uninterested, and somehow that hurts more. I don't know if I have a family. If there's anyone waiting for me wherever I came from, I have no clue, but actually knowing that you have no one, that's worse on so many levels. I wish I could say these things without flirting, but I'm sorry. It pains me to see him like this. He's strong, and I see it as much in those Sapphire's eyes as I do in the set of his shoulders, the strength of his hands. But no one has to be strong all the time. I'm sorry. What for? I know you don't want to talk about your past, but I imagine it hasn't been easy. You're right, newbie. I don't want to talk about it. He turns back to the bar, cutting the conversation short, but I haven't finished with him just yet. For what it's worth, Damon, you're not alone. You have an entire crew who clearly cares about you, and if you weren't so sour half the time, maybe I could care about you too. Damon looks me over, his quick eyes darting across my face as if deciding my true intentions. You want to be friends? Is that it? Yes, that's it. Your funeral. Changing the subject to something less morose. Let's talk about your future, now that I'm your boss and all. My boss? That's right, kiddo. You picked me, and now you have to deal with the consequences. He winks at me lazily, and I give him a withering glare in return. We're a small crew on a tight ship with a large bounty on our heads. We can't afford to have any leeches hanging around. Bounty? I'm not a... Wait, what? Bounty? Oh, what do you mean a bounty? And I'm not a leech. Honestly, I've had plenty of bounties on my head. Took care of them all myself, but this one is complicated. And you are a leech. You've been draining our food and water up until now without lifting a finger. It's about time you make yourself useful around the ship. I don't mind pulling my weight, but I don't have the first clue where to start. What would you have me do? He gives a suggestive grin, his eyes growing dark with what I can only imagine are the most sinful of thoughts. Please be serious. Sighing, Damon drains the last of his drink, his jaw clenching tight as he thinks it over. Maybe you'll be up for a little bounty hunting. I could show you the ropes, 150 ways to kill a man with a spoon and all that jazz. Let us snort, rolling my eyes at the very idea. Bounty hunting? Don't you have to be a mercenary to get access to that data? Yes, you do. I stop abruptly, the shock hitting me like a brick wall. That's what you all are? Mercenaries? If you're good at something, people pay you to do it. I am very, very good at what I do. Why do I hear the Mandalorian theme in the distance? He almost purrs that loud part, and I have to swan him away just to get rid of that stupid smirk on his face. You got a problem with it? There's the door. He waves with dismissive hand, and I almost wonder if he wants me to get up and walk away. All I've ever known of mercenaries has been tainted by preconception. Hired guns no better than space pirates whose mercilessness knows no bounds. Damon and even Calderon fit the bill well enough, but when I think of the others, June and Bryona especially, I can't help but wonder if they're not all that Damon is making them out to be. Maybe you just listed the two most ruthless members of the crew. I don't have a problem. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, that's all. But I can't imagine myself killing anyone with a spoon. What kind of things would you have me do? You don't have to do anything yet. But aren't I supposed to? What you're supposed to do is not be a nuisance and sit here like a good little pet while I go and get another drink. Such an asshole. I glare at him, watching his back as he moves a little further down the bar to signal the bartender. I swear I love him. But oh my god. Hey pretty one, let me buy you a drink. My attention shifts to a man who's saddled up beside me, far too close for comfort. He's human by the looks of things, though 2/3 of his face and both arms have been replaced by bionics, and his voice has a strange metallic echo to it. His eyes focus on me, both of them glowing in an eerie neon green, and it takes me a few moments to compose myself and wave a hand in front of me. No thank you. I've barely turned around when a cold metal hand grabs my arm and yanks me completely off my seat. I let out a yelp. Maybe I should have taken that damn dagger. Surprised by the sudden heat of his breath on the side of my face. I wasn't giving you a choice. No one says no to me around here. If you wanted to invite someone to join us, Solaris, you could have just asked. My heart skips a beat when Damon's arm snakes around my waist, pulling me closer against the warmth of his body and holding me tight. I'm frozen in place, the sound of my heart pounding in my ears, and I blink at Damon, dumbly too stunned to move. What are you? Oh, I see what's happening here. You were going to run off with this fine metallic gentleman and leave me all alone, weren't you? Damon's tone is mocking, and when his eyes fall on the stranger in front of us, all humor drains from his face. If only you'd taken the blade I offered you earlier, you could have handled this one yourself, sweetheart. I'm not going to stab anyone. You can't expect me to do that for you all the time. I'm not... What do you even... Damon... The man interrupts, waving a hand in front of my face, his wide eyes terrified. Did you just call your boyfriend Damon? He's not my... They did. The color drains from what's left of his face, his mouth hanging agape for a few moments before he managed to stutter and speak again. As in Reznor? I don't go by that name anymore. The shadows that cloud Damon's face send a shiver through me. Letting out a low whistle, the stranger backs up a few steps, his hands held in front of him protectively. I'm sorry, sir. Didn't know this one was taken. It shouldn't matter if this one was taken or not. No means no, you piece of shit. This time I'm positive the man whimpered before mumbling another apology and scampering away. I watched until he disappeared through a crowd, out of sight, and Damon lets out a frustrated breath beside me. Dirty no-good scumbag. Who the fuck does he think he is, calling me that? Thank you. We're just gonna navigate around that. Obviously, he doesn't want to talk about his name. Despite not being the biggest fan... No, I'm very happy he helped. Despite not being the biggest fan of how he helped, I can't deny that he did help. And it doesn't seem... But doesn't seem like he particularly wants to talk about that either. Thanks for the help. You didn't give me much of a choice when you decided to hang out with the sleaziest creature in this place. Oh, right. I remember why I walked out on him now. It's as if I never did tell you not wander on your own. Anyway, you should know better than talk to strangers here. I didn't think you cared. That was before you became my bloody responsibility. Have I thanked you for that yet? Because thank you so much. If you can't already tell, I'm thrilled. I give him a withering glare, thoroughly unimpressed with the sarcasm. Just don't go picking up any more strangers in bars, and we'll be just peachy. Well, either way, you helped. I think you might just be warming up to me after all. You wish, newbie. I'm gonna take a walk around. It's getting a little warm in here. Don't get into any trouble without me. I'm not gonna be your knight in shining armor every time you need rescuing. You're definitely not a knight in shining armor. I think you're more of a thief than a knight. Can't argue with that. See you around, Solaris. Turning away from the bar, I'm drawn to the shouts floating my way from the room at the back of the club, following by a round of loud cheers. I make my way through the crowd, sidling around a dark and dodgy-looking dance floor before I push aside the curtain to the back room and freeze. Aya, please just come down from there. You're going to break something. Line up, will you? The only thing I'm breaking is hearts. What is... Surveying the scene in front of me, it doesn't take long for realization to dawn, and with it, the shock of what exactly is going on. Hidden in the back of the club, behind dirty red curtain and a cloud of sleazy patrons, is a strip club. I would say I'm surprised, but after meeting Oppo earlier, I'm really not. They are, unfortunately, very sleazy. I join June beside the stage, distracting him from trying to coax Aya down from it for a mere moment before I cross my arms on my chest and give him a pointed look. I didn't think this was your kind of scene, if you know what I mean. I know perfectly well, but it's complicated. I'm not judging you, to each their own. No, but A small smile tugs at my lips and June chuckles, realizing I'm only teasing him. Oh yeah, make it rain, Poppy! Sighing, June nods towards the stage. As I'm sure you could tell, Aya likes dancing. When I turn to the stage, it all starts to make sense. The one getting all these cheers from the crowd is Aya May. Cute! She looks so good. It's so much fun! Grandpa June down there is just trying to kill my vibe. Aya laughs and hooks an ankle around the pole, spinning around so many times I feel dizzy just watching her. I'm not trying to kill your vibe, I'm just worried about you. It's very funny. His expression is, yeah. June rolls aside, exasperated, whose voice almost lost among the noise surrounding us. Chillax, Daddy. How about you loosen up before you end up with a stick up your ass the size of Captain's? Their eyes lock on each other, unflinching, interrupted only when Aya twirls around the pole, her face appearing mere moments later to continue the glaring match. I wring my hands in front of me awkwardly, thinking this is probably a good time to intervene and diffuse the situation. Just leave her alone. She's having fun. June, Aya's right. Haha, told you. Here I thought you were a sane person, Solaris. They are. Now get lost, Grandpa. Promise it won't get us in much trouble. If Cal asks, we're sitting quietly in the back and behaving ourselves. Got it? June throws his hands up in his desperation, grumbling to himself as he turns and walks towards an empty seat in the back. Though no one said a little trouble won't hurt, eh, Solaris? You're crazy, you know that, right? Yeah, but you like me that way. Says who? Says you! I know we had something special already. Time for us to have the fun I promised you before. And hey, you sided with me willingly. That I did, it just seemed like she was having too much fun to try and stop her. And honestly, I don't think she would have stopped, even if we begged her to. Aya May doesn't seem like the kind of person to just roll over and take anyone's orders. With a crystalline laugh, Aya twists around the pole, stretching her leg until she lands with a perfect split, making the crowd around us hoot and yell. I mean, we could, but how do you even do that? How is that even possible? Like, how do you even do that? It's not that hard, it just takes practice. I'm sure you could do it if you wanted to. Everyone could. Well, maybe not June. He's too uptight for this much fun. He was just worried about you. I know. There's nothing wrong with going wild every now and again. We've all been through a lot, you know? It's clear they all carry a certain amount of baggage. You don't just become a mercenary for no good reason. She seemed to act very carefree about it all. It doesn't seem to mind my questions much as some of the others. Like Damon. Taking my eyes off me, she pulls herself up and flips upside down on the pole, somehow holding herself up with just her legs. A woman next to me chokes on her drink when Aya winks our way. I'm pretty sure it was meant for me, but whatever gets her through the night, I suppose. Me. Sliding down the pole, she flips back up, cocking her head at me. What could possibly go through your mind to make your brain tick so damn loud, even in this crowded room? How'd you end up on the Andromeda 6? You seem too much a free spirit to be tied down to a crew. What made you join them? That's a good question, isn't it? Aya chuckles at my question and slows down her dancing, eyes drifting into the distance. You don't have to tell me, of course. Oh, I know. It's just been a while since anyone's asked. The crew never did? Some of them know. But it's like all of us have a shitty past of sorts, so it's just like... Shrugging, she cocks her head at me and an unreadable expression on her face. There's not much to tell, really, but how well do you know Catalfa? We will get the long explanation. Not much. Honestly, not much, I think. Not many people do these days. It's almost like they've already forgotten about how it was destroyed. It was destroyed? I thought it went supernova, that it wore itself out. It's complicated. I'm not saying we didn't have a hand in its demise, but, well... No use crying over spilled milk, I guess. It was a grand planet, a surface covered in water, great lakes, and oceans brimming with extensive ecosystems of bright and lively fauna and flora. There were a lot of Catalfans, and the little land available was soon crowded out with peeps like yours truly, and moving underwater was the only way out. My species have always been keen with science and stuff like that, so a lot of things were created while they tried to come up with a way to live properly underwater. Oxygen mask and water purifying techniques are only a couple of examples of what was created in this process. Eventually, they create a substance that allows them to live underwater, and part of the people volunteered to move, and a whole new and big city flourished down there. With the years we adapted, we started being born with gills on our necks, allowing us to breathe underwater without the need for any substance. Unless you're half-kit, which are many, then you're shit out of luck in that regard. Those who lived under went beyond even, with webbed fingers and toes, bright jewel-colored skin, a nictitating membrane over their eyes. Full-fledged space mermaids equipped to survive in the deepest waters. And they needed substance to be able to live on land as they were fully adapted to water. What about you? Were you one of them? I had a family under, but I was too young to be a full-out mermaid. I want to ask if she wished she could be one, but the forlorn look on her face keeps me from uttering the words. I hate to pry into something so achingly personal. If stupid, cocky idiots thought it would be okay to push an unknown substance without proper research, to abide by the dumb king's request. For what? For nothing. Something bad happened, and I can't help the twinge of guilt in my stomach as I ask her what. What happened? She doesn't answer me right off the bat, staring into the distance while letting her body spin around the pool. It doesn't even feel like we're in the middle of a crowded room anymore. The world seems to slow down around us when she talks, painfully so. Our oceans boiled, sea life died, the kids who refused to move back to land died there. Earthquakes ravaged everything, the temperature rose to a ridiculous level. We were dying, of heatstroke, landslides, drowning, hunger, people killed each other, Solaris, it was chaos. Pride tossed aside, our leaders sought out help, yet no one bothered to help us. Closed doors and backhanded offers is all we got. And it was their fucking fault. If humans had never discovered that substance in the mines, if they hadn't paid the Catalfans to run tests on it, if the Talari hadn't shut their damn doors on us, then maybe, I have no idea what to say. Aime's knuckles are white from how tight she holds the pool, eyes cast to the side, brimming with unshed tears. I know there's nothing I can do. It kills me, but all I can hope is that she'll get better, that I can be there for her when she needs me to. But still, my heart aches for her. I wish I could do something to help, anything. It's all humans' fault. How could my own species be responsible for something so terrible? I can't help but feel responsible for it. Even though I know, even if I can't remember, that I wasn't personally responsible for it, it still hits too close for comfort. Words of apology flow from my lips before I can even make sense of the storm of feelings inside me. I'm sorry. Her eyes dart back to mine at my words, confusion sprawled across her features. You have absolutely nothing to apologize for, Solaris. If anything, I'm the one who should say sorry for going overboard with the details. I just meant you to tell a bit about Catalfa and me, and... Well, sorry. Caldurans does say I tend to get touchy with the topic, but I'd hate telling him he's right. The forlorn look in her eye hurts me. I don't think she got touchy with it. It's not an easy subject. I understand why you got emotional. You shouldn't blame yourself. Thanks. I mean, I know that, but... Most of the Catalfans don't get like this anymore. It's been a while. And it makes no sense to dwell in the past so much. Would you rather forget about it? It takes her time to answer. I can almost see the conflicting thoughts running through her head. I don't know. With a sad smile, I get the feeling it's best to leave this topic at that for now. My own memory loss might make me get touchy and emotional over that. I am sorry, but don't tell him I lost it, okay? It almost makes me want to jump off the stage and hang over your shoulders the rest of the day, but I have a show to finish. Next time, so get those shoulders ready, okay? It seems like she's about to turn around and go back to dancing, but I can't let her go without saying something. The weight of her words still sits heavy on my chest, suffocating me. You don't have to apologize either. And if you ever need someone to loosen up with, count me in. I know. Thanks, Solaris. But how did you survive? Now that's a cool story, but I'm afraid we'll have to save it for another time. I winks at me before turning back to keep dancing, calling out to me over her shoulder. Can't really spill all my tea in such a crowded room, can I? And with that, she turns back around, jumping on that pool like a second nature. I take a few steps back and keep watching as she twirls around and has the time of her life. That is until her face shifts to sheer anger as she stops dancing and starts yelling at someone in front of the stage. Hey, no touching, asshole! Before I can even figure out what happened, a warm hand lays on my shoulder. I'd advise you to go somewhere else now. But don't worry, you can leave that to me. You don't want to be in the way when IMA gets mad, trust me. Staring at his earnest smile, I can't help but believe him. As a feisty little thing, I do feel sorry for whoever dared messing with her just now. Waving my goodbye to June, I turn around to continue exploring the club while he pushes his way through the crowd toward Aya. There's only one place in the club I haven't been yet, and I'm curious to find out how Bash and Riona are amusing themselves. Sailing around the dance floor once more, I've almost made it to the curtain separating the final room from the rest of the club when I feel a sharp pointed nail tapping on the shoulder. Hi. When I turn, it's Fine Oppo, looking nothing short of delighted that they found me. They offer me a strange half-bound greeting. Greetings, Solaris. How do you enjoy Oppo's club? It's the finest in Nos Vega, yes? Oppo blinks at me a couple times, leaning forward while they wait for my answer. Oh, it's great, Oppo. I've never seen anything like it. Oppo smiles, apparently happy with the answer as they clasp their hand in front of them and peer at me through wide yellow eyes. Oppo is curious how you met Mr. Bash and the astrologer crew. Tell Oppo the story, yes? Oh, well, we are going to be honest. Solaris does not have good judgment, okay? Oppo seems harmless enough, so I don't know why I couldn't tell them the truth of how I ended up on the Andromeda 6. I was in Silta V during the coup. I don't remember much, but I was injured, and the crew rescued me and brought me aboard. Fortunate the crew was there, yes? I stopped for a moment, realizing that I've barely taken a moment to appreciate how truly lucky I was that day. Yes, I owe them my life. Oppo owes them our life too. Many lives, in fact. You come and work in Oppo's club, yes? No need to go back to nasty Goldust now. What? Oh no, for the last time, I'm not going to work for you. Oppo gives me a sheepish grin, and I shake my head at them, my lips quirking slightly at the corners. Solaris met the crew in Silta V, yes? Yes, that's right. Oppo hears rumors from the royal city. The king and his family, murdered. As well, thickly, it's a dreadful ordeal. No matter how hated the old king was, 15 lives, an entire family gone. But one body they cannot find, the king's youngest child. It's almost as if they disappeared, yes? Oppo's eyes narrow and they look at me intently. Very curious. You think the child is still alive? Oppo thinks if they were alive, they should hide far, far away. The usurper would not let a threat like that would not let live a threat to his throne. I can read. How would one recognize his child if they saw them, that is? Oppo does not know. The youngest royal children were hidden, always hidden. Not important to be seen, not important at all. Oppo looks me over, and for a moment, I think the conversation over until suddenly they speak again. Oppo is happy Solaris is here. Solaris is safe in Oppo's home. Oppo smiles at me, and although the pointed teeth give them a rather sinister look, I get the impression they mean what they say. Thank you, Oppo. With another half bow, Oppo ambles off into the crowd, and watching them until they disappear, I continue on my way. I'm sure that means absolutely nothing for us. I'm sure there's no foreshadowing going on here. Heading towards the room off the side of the club, when I push the curtain aside, I spot Bash not too far away, seated around the half-moon table covered in crimson felt. This is one of my favorite backgrounds in the game. It's so cool. I want to hear like little Star Wars jig happen. Three other patrons are seated at the same table, a small creature with a bored look on her face, and a beautiful Catalan couple who look far too finely dressed for a place like this. Dealing a set of cards in front of each set is a woman who, curiously, I notice has 4 arms. As I step closer to the table, I realize that while her upper arms look natural enough, the bottom are completely robotic, much like Bash's, to assist her with dealing the cards at lightning speed. Last chance to place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Bash pushes a stack of chips further on the table, and as I step up behind him, I finally notice Riona at his side. It would be an understatement to say the look on her face at the sight of his bet is one of pure horror. Sebastian, that amount of money would be enough to feed the entire crew for a month. What are you thinking? Bash sat back in his seat, arms folded casually over his chest, a lopsided grin on his lips. I know what I'm doing, Rye. This is how they draw you in, you know. You get a few wins, and then next thing you know, it's completely gone over your head, and you end up losing everything. Next thing, you'll be betting the ship itself. Bash snorts at her accusation, and Riona looks less than impressed by the reaction. Enrician, holy wrath for our dear old captain? Not likely. I watch her argument, if that's what it can be called, with mild amusement. It ends when Riona crosses her arms over her chest, turning slightly away from Bash and pursing her lips in what I can only describe as a pout. Forgetting the angry Talari for a moment, Bash leans closer to me, his voice an excited whisper. The rules are simple, my friend. If the card shows 3 crowns, you get another draw. The hourglass represents 12. That's a high card. And this one here, I stare at him, utterly perplexed as his voice fades into nothing. What exactly about any of that is simple? Bash studies for a moment before giving me a casual shrug of his shoulders and clearing his throat intently. Just watch what I do. You'll pick it up soon enough. Riona and I share a look. By the deep grooves forming in her forehead, I'd say she's less than pleased about the situation. Can't we find something else to do? Riona gives me an appreciative smile, one that I return while Bash lets out an unhappy groan. Come on, Solaris, don't be such a spoil sport. I'm just trying to show you the finer things Terranium has to offer. The dealer flips another card, and Bash's lips quirk further. It bears the image of a goblet. We've got this in the bag, Solaris. I hope you're ready to win some serious credits. Practically shaking with excitement, Bash drums his fingers on the table, unblinking as gaze follows the dealer's swift movements. This is like the scene in different like fantasy stories and stuff like that. I guess I'm thinking like Pirates of the Caribbean, where you only have to have the reactions of the crowd to know if it's like a good hand or not, which, you know what, is also me with any card game. The dealer flips up the final card, 4 feather quills. My eyes dart to his face, expecting to find a triumphant smile, but instead I'm met with a look of pure horror. That was supposed to be 2 crossed swords. This young lady is a winner. The dealer gestures to the small creature at the end of the table and slides a considerable amount of chips over to her, which she chirps happily at. Now look what you've done. I told you. Bash places a hand on her arm to calm her before she can finish her sentence, and she stops abruptly. Relax, enjoy yourself a little. We have enough trouble to deal with later. It's just a bit of fun, yeah? Let me buy you a drink. I look at Riona, who seems anything but relaxed. In fact, she's been looking quite on edge ever since we landed on Geranium. Lynn leans in to whisper something to Bash, and I only just catch her words over the buzz surrounding us. Don't forget what happened the last time I was on this planet. Bash fixes his eyes on Riona, both bionic and real. I'd never forget. He smiles at her for a moment, and I swear his face is softer somehow. My eyes meet Riona's again, and I offer a half-hearted shrug. Well, you can certainly say you told him so. Oh, he already knows. You think I'm the type to rub it in? Yes, you absolutely are. Riona laughs to sound contagious, though Bash merely glowers at the pair of us. And what's with the 2 of you ganging up on me? Come on, you have to admit it was a little fun. Well, the look on your face was certainly something. I'm shocked to hear such an unexpected snort of laughter from Riona, who constantly seems so put together. They have a point. Bash rolls his eyes at us, his eyes drifting around the room in search of other amusements. Riona gives him a pointed look before letting out a long, tired sigh. You 2 do what you want. I'm going to go and find somewhere a little quieter to wait all of this out. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on the table and jump back in when things are picking up again. I will go with Riona. I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed in the casino. Finding a quiet spot with Riona sounds more than appealing right now. I'm going to go with Riona. It's a little too much in here for me. Stretching his arms over his head, Bash smiles at us. See you later then. Look after each other, alright? With a wave of goodbye, Bash starts off, most likely in search of another table to join. Shaking my head, I turn to follow Riona as she makes her way across the room and back to the club. When we exit the club and step onto the streets, I can't say it's any quieter than it was inside, but at least it's easier to breathe out here. Riona turns to me, a sheepish smile tilting her lips. This place suffocates me a bit. If you want to go back in, you're welcome to. I wanted to spend time with you. It doesn't matter if it's in there or out here. Your smile is so sweet. I glanced down the street at the vendors selling their wares from wooden stalls and the various food carts sending plumes of scented smoke into the air. It's just as crowded as it was in the club, with all sorts of people rushing back and forth. And from our spot leaning against the front of the building, we take it all in. Rihanna smiles at me, and I can tell she's glad I came along. I'm sorry if I seem difficult, but sometimes I feel I don't fit in anywhere. I may not have noticed, but there aren't exactly a lot of Talaria on this planet. Almost none, in fact. I had noticed. It would be hard not to, but I can't say I understand why. I'm sensing there's more to your story than you told me. Why did you really leave Talaran? Riona silently holds my gaze, as if deciding how much she should tell me. After a moment, she bites down on her lips, her bright yellow eyes fixed on the dusty ground between us. My childhood was very strict. My father is a member of the Council of Eons, Talaran's ruling government, and my mother is the director of the Kitaim, the largest medical facility on the planet. As I'm sure you can imagine, those are incredibly demanding and powerful positions. Riona wrings her hands together nervously, as if waiting for some kind of reaction. But all I can do is watch how her luminescent skin wanes when she speaks, glowing dimmer by the second. They didn't have much time for me growing up, but I was still expected to behave as if they were always watching because, well, there was always someone watching me. I had to be the perfect daughter, dedicated, well-mannered, disciplined, but it felt like I was a prisoner. She lets out a soft sigh, fixing me with a worried look. Don't get me wrong, I love my planet, but the beliefs that many of the Talari have, they're backwards. We used to help those who needed aid, but more often than not, travelers are being turned away and the Talari are closing themselves off from the rest of the world. She gives me a sad smile, as if apologizing for saying so much. We used to be better. I wanted to be better, that's why I left. So you enjoyed the Andromeda 6 crew? Not quite. That happened a few years later. I traveled with a group of Talari called the Archangels. We went from planet to planet offering aid where we could. But She trails off, hands shaking at her sides, as whatever memories she's been trying to ward off now crash over her. Her face falls in an instant, and she covers her mouth with a hand, her eyes squeezed shut tight. I step forward to put a comforting hand on her shoulder, feeling her body shake with emotion. I'm so sorry. This planet brings back a lot of bad memories. I'd rather not talk about it right now, if you don't mind. That's perfectly fine. I understand. Do you want to go back to the ship? If this place holds such bad memories, it might be better for her to be somewhere more comfortable. I can take you back to the ship if you like. Riona sniffles, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand and giving me a watery smile. I'll be alright. No need to cut the night short because of me. I appreciate the thought, though. Thank you, Solaris. Riona takes a deep breath to compose herself, looking around the streets, and I'm relieved to see that she's feeling better. I think I'll go and have a drink with Bass after all. I should probably apologize for being so hard on him earlier. I don't think he took it too harshly, but I'm sure he enjoyed your company. She beams at me, her delicate features glowing under the light of the moon. We should. It's just so pretty. Before she finishes her sentence, two men walk past, their eyes visibly narrowed on the pair of us. One man, a human with corded lights weaving through his skin, steps uncomfortably close and growls in Riona's face. I don't want to say that. We don't want your kind here. The other one, a Catalfan, spits at our feet before the two of them stroll off, shoulders pulled back and chests puffed as though they own the very ground they tread. Yeah, I'm gonna say something. Hey, you overgrown glow stick, why don't you come and say that again? The man stops in his track, anger descending like a black cloud on his face when he turns to sneer at me. What the hell did you say to me? I hesitate when he storms toward us, having not thought through this plan past the initial stages of hurling abuse at the altered human in front of me. You think because you're human I won't pummel you where you stand, do ya? Associating with a moon dog makes you just as bad as one. Oh my god! My heart hammers in my chest as his friend rolls up his sleeves ready for a fight. I grip my teeth, mentally preparing myself for the blow about to come, until a head of pale silver hair danced in front of my vision. Riona, you better back off right now if you know what's good for you. The man lets out a bellowing laugh, staring Riona down through eyes that shine with sadistic amusement. You're in for the time of your life, lady. Oh, God. Is there a problem here? My blood runs cold at the sound of a dark rasp behind us, and when I turn, it's to find June staring the men down, his face thunderous and cold. Any glimmer of kindness had gone, replaced instead by a look I've never seen in him before, and I can't say why, but something about it terrifies me. When June moves in front of Riona and I, shielding us from the stranger and his friends, all I can see are the muscles on his back and shoulders tensing through his clothes. He almost seems bigger somehow, though I know that can't be possible. You think it'd take us on, pretty boy? The man, his eyes go wide, he backs up slowly, 1 foot behind the other, his mouth opening and closing like a goldfish. Another second later, and the two of them are scrambling down the streets, almost falling over each other in their desperate attempts to disappear in the crowd. I let out a breath of relief, though when I look at Riona, her face is still twisted in anger I've never seen from her. June stands firmly fixed to the spot, the only signs of movement, the way his shoulders rise and fall with short, shallow breaths. June? I step towards him, hand outstretched and my heart pounding in my ears. My heart comfortably, a wave of warranted nausea and terror snaking through my veins. Whatever those men had seen in June, it had shaken them to the core, and I wasn't so sure I wanted to know why. When he finally turns, the ghost of his easy smile slides back into place, though it doesn't quite reach his eyes this time. I let out a breath I've been holding in, my shoulders slumping as relief flows through me, as if finally remembering what had brought him here. June's eyebrows dip in worry. I was looking for the two of you everywhere. We need your help inside. It's Aime. Riona throws him an alarmed look before hurrying back into the club, but before I can do the same, June stops with a hand on my arm. Are you okay, Solaris? I nod, pushing down whatever curiosity is gnawing at me to discover what had those two men so terrified of him. I'm fine. Don't worry about me, June. I really am okay. When he finally relents with a nod of his head, we head back to the club together. June leads us to a small storage room off the side. But only if I know I'm going to win? Riona gives her a withering glare, and I lets out a guilty bubble of laughter. Oh, don't worry. It was clearly dead. Aya cocks her head to the side a little, making a face when she mulls over exactly how much she wants to tell us. Well, let's just say it's generally never a good idea to punch someone who has a bionic face. Aya, what were you thinking? Aya shrugs, the silver tips of her hair falling casually around her shoulders. That I wanted to shut the prick up? Aya bit back a string of curses. Riona took her hand and flipped it over to check the damage. So where's this guy now? Probably crying off in the corner. Pretty sure I gave his tin can a nice dent. A kind remember to not touch people like that. I thought June broke you guys apart. Oh, he did. Ouch, Ryu. Take it easy, won't you? That's what you get for throwing punches in Las Vegas. I'm sorry, okay? Riona merely raises an eyebrow at her, and Aya's smile immediately slides back into place. Sorry I didn't hit him harder, that is. And a graceful start escapes me, and even Riona has a hard time keeping the smile off her face. How bad is her hand, Riona? It looks like it might be broken or fractured at the very least. I'll have to run some scans to know for sure. Solaris, will you see if you can get a bowl of ice from the bar? It'll help with the swelling until we can get Aya back to the ship. Of course. Closing the door behind me, when I leave the room, I start heading towards the bar in search of the bowl of ice. I lean against the counter, immediately regretting the decision when I feel the stickiness of who knows what stuck to my sleeves. Oh. Disgusted, I turn back around, stopping in my tracks when a glint of red catches my eye between the sea of bodies in the room. I can't explain why, but something about that particular shade of red seems so familiar. Before I even realize what I'm doing, my feet are already weaving through the room, pushing between dozens of people around me. When did this bar get so crowded? Oi, watch it! Sorry. I mumble apology, too fixated on the trail I'm on to stop now. When I get a little closer, I realize that what I've been following is a shock of red hair. The man stops at the exit, looking around a little before disappearing through the door and out into the street. My heart pumps in my chest with an urgency I can't explain, and a voice in my head whispers, follow him, over and over, so utterly relentless that I hear nothing else. I fall behind, desperately pushing my way through the last few feet in the crowd, growing hot and sweaty between so many bodies. When I finally reach the exit, I stop to catch my breath, looking up and down the crowded street for any sign of the man. I see nothing but the usual vendors and street food carts, but I know he must be around here somewhere. He couldn't have just vanished into thin air. Breathlessly, I pick a direction, letting my feet guide me until I'm standing at the mouth of a dimly lit alleyway. A single, solitary streetlight casting an eerie glow over the broken furniture and odd trash littering the ground. Deciding I'd rather not chance an encounter in a dingy old alley, I turn to head back to the club, stopping only when I hear a noise echoes through the darkness, the sound of breaking glass. I hesitate, ear turned toward the alleyway, listening for any sign of movement. With newfound determination, I straighten up and muster my courage, taking one step, then another, into the darkness. A thought enters my mind as I put one foot in front of the other. It could be a trap, and like an idiot, I didn't tell any of the crew where I was going when I left the club. I remember the blade Damon offered me earlier. Maybe I should have taken it. That way I'd be able to defend myself, but still. I don't like weapons. I hope I don't have to resort to violence. Steeling my nerves, I creep through the alley towards the source of the noise, only to find it empty. I look around, peering as far through the darkness as my eyes can manage, so all I find are shadows. Was it just a rat? Yeah, it is. You shouldn't follow strangers into dark alleys. A voice startles me from behind, cool breath skittering over my skin and sending a shiver down my spine. But I can't turn around. I can't move. After feeling the brush of a cold blade against my throat. Not armed? Obviously you've never been to Nos Vega before. Leans closer still, and when he speaks, his voice is a seductive, dark rasp in my ear. Who are you, and why were you following me? I swallow thickly around the lump of fear in my throat, trying to keep my cool. My name is Solaris. The man behind me sucks in a breath and spins me to face him, cutting my words short. I can't see his face clearly through the shadows, but I feel his eyes raking over me and the shock dripping from him when he takes a step back and lets out a shaky breath. It can't be. No. Your Highness, you're alive? And that's the end of episode 2. So yeah, we will leave it up there. I don't wonder who that could be. And yeah, we will pick up chapter 3 next time and learn more about our past and this mysterious figure that we were following and what he means to us there. But yes, thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you can check out Andromeda 6 yourself on itch.io if you want to romance any of these babes. But yeah, again, thank you so much. And we're going to leave it up there for today. Bye.